You're battling feeling taken for granted. They don't really see who I am because you got that taste. So you have an idea of what you can do, but nobody is giving you that position that you know you're supposed to have. Hi, how you doing? I am Ellie Johnson, and this is Isaiah Movement. I want to thank you for watching this episode. Today's episode, we're going to talk about 5 stages to get to where God wants you to be. 5 steps to greatness, right? So when it comes to this, we're going to use David as an example because I was studying David, reading about David. I've noticed that there was like 5 different phases in his life that God used, and I think there's 5 different stages that we go through that we have to battle with in order to get to where God wants us to be. For David, it was to be king. For us, it could be anything: pastor, CEO. It could be anything. It could be in a band. It could be anything. The first stage is calling. Now, this happens before anybody comes and sees you or anything like that, right? For David, he was in the field when they called him, and Samuel anointed him to be king. So this is one of those. This is the step where you first get that first idea, or you first get that person came and prophesied to you and said God wants you to be a pastor, or it's that time when you first got that thought, like, I want to be a food scientist. That's something I wanted to be when I was in high school. I love food. I wanted to be a food scientist, but that wasn't my calling. But it could be someone's calling, right? I'm not taking that away. Someone's got to be that food scientist. But it's that first step where you get that first idea or you get that first calling from God where you know He has something for you to do. That is it. Now, the thing that you battle on this phase, on this step, is you battled the doubts that it might happen. Because this usually, the calling is something that you can't do by yourself. It is something that is this huge, and it's like one of those things where you're like, how am I going to do that? And the reason is because God is going to do it through you. But, so you're like, how am I going to do that? So you're battling with the whole thought of, is it real? Is it really going to happen? At that moment you receive the idea or the calling, you're like, all for it. You're like, yes, this is it. This is God. I know He wants me to do this. But the next day, you're like, is that God though? Really? Is that God? Right? So you're battling the doubts and the thoughts of maybe this is not God, maybe this is me. So that is one of the battles that you go through on that phase. Second step is the reveal. I like to call it the reveal. This is when David actually killed Goliath, and then everybody seen like, yo, who is this amazing person over here killing giants and stuff? And then he was celebrated and everything like that. The reveal is when God actually used you for the first time in your gifting, calling, and then He reveals you to the people around you. So it's the first time you actually preach that message, and everybody looked at you like, who is this person? Or it's the first time you explained an idea that you had for a product that you wanted to create, and everybody's like, yo, that idea is amazing. That is the reveal of you, or of that calling. That is the reveal. Now, what are you battling in that reveal? This is tough, because when you go through the reveal, you go through a higher moment because you have it. It's like you come out of and you see the greatness, or you see the potential that's inside of you, and then the next day, so let's say you went out there and you preach this amazing message, right? And everybody at the church was laid out, just like, oh my goodness, who is this guy preaching? Like, he's amazing. And then the next day you got to go back to the job you hate and work the 9 to 5. Right? So now you're like, wait. Yesterday, I was just preaching up a storm. I'm too big for this job. Now you got to battle the everyday, ordinary life now that you have had a taste of what God wants to do with you. Now the third step is the stage I like to call the building. This is when everybody around you is benefiting. Remember, you are on stage 2, you was shown, God revealed you, showed that you have this talent, these giftings. And now stage 3 is when everyone around you actually starts to use that talent and gifting. Remember, and after David killed Goliath, he went back and he had to still work his father's farm. But not his farm, his sheep. But after that, there was a time when David was going to the palace and he was playing music for the king because Saul was being attacked by a demonic oppression where his mind would go and he would become enraged, and David would have to play with his harp in order to calm him down. So David's giftings was still being used by the king, but he wasn't in that position that God called him to be, which was the king. So there's that phase where people around you are actually using you for your gifting, and they're pulling on you for your gifting for their benefits. So now what are you battling here? In this phase, you are battling feeling used, you're battling feeling lonely, you're battling feeling taken for granted. They don't really see who I am because you got that taste, so you have an idea of what you can do, but nobody is giving you that position that you know you're supposed to have, right? Now, again, this is the stage where, people are pulling from you and they are using your gifting, but that's okay because what is actually happening as well is God is actually using this to develop your gifting, to make your gifting better, to awaken certain gifts, and he's using it to also build your character, to make you stronger and make you a better person for where you need to go. Now the fourth stage is, I call it the attack. This is when your calling attacks you. Now what do I mean by that? So remember when David hit a certain point, no longer was he playing the harp for the king. Now he was on the run from the king because the king was coming to kill him because it was out there that he was going to become the next king. And Saul did not want anything to do with David becoming king. Of course, he wanted his own line to stay king. So he went and he hunted David to try to kill David. And David went on a run. But David didn't. He had an opportunity to kill Saul, but he didn't kill Saul because he said he's not going to go take his hand up against God's anointed one, right? So he's not going to do what is wrong. So in this phase, we still have to do what's right, even though we might feel like everything is coming against us. In this phase, you're battling discouragement. You're also battling taking the calling that God gave to you in the wrong way, but you're also battling people that was using your gift and starting to turn on you. Now, it happens because God is starting to get you out your nest, and he's starting to move you to where you need to go, which is your calling. So that is why these things are happening. And so this is one of those phases which is getting you ready to go to the calling, but it's also still working on your character just a little bit. He got it still working on you just a little bit. This just to get that last little bit out of you where you can actually walk into your calling, where the timing is now right for you to walk into your calling. Now this fifth step, I call it the establishment. This is the stage where you actually become established in your calling. This is it. This is what you've been waiting all these years for. This is what you've been fighting through. Now this is the hardest stage step. This is the stage where you have to definitely pick up your cross and die to self. That is the only way that you will make it on this stage and be able to succeed on this stage. Success on this stage come from sacrifice, and surrenderance. That is the only way. So the scary thing is stage 1 through 4, you can actually get through those stages just on gifts and talents alone. But stage 5, you cannot get through this stage 5 or establishing the calling that God has for you. You cannot get through that with just your gifts and talents. You can only get through that by dying, by picking up your cross and surrendering to the feet of the Father. That is the only way you can establish that calling that He has already placed on you. And that's today's videos. Those are just 5 nice little steps or stages that I think we go through to actually get to the calling that God has for our life. Now, please like, share, subscribe. If you're on one of those stages, drop it in the comments. Let me know what stage you're on. Until the next one.